I am absolutely fascinated by the way people existed every day historically. What they wore, what they ate, what they did, how they slept. I've been excited to film this video for a while now because I'm curious how comfortable a medieval sleeping setup or their version of a mattress would be. And so naturally, I'm going to run a little experiment for a week and try to replicate this experience firsthand. Rather than this video being reenactment or a complete representation of how medieval people slept, their schedule, etc., I'm going to be doing something different. My only goal for this video is to focus on the medieval mattress and whether or not I can make it feel comfortable sleeping on it for a week. I'd love to do a full medieval sleeping video in the future, but the space and setup I need for it is kind of complicated, so I'm just going to start with the foundation, literally. So what were medieval mattresses like? There is little archaeological evidence of medieval beds, according to H.L. Morgan in a book titled Beds and Chambers in Late Medieval England, Readings, Representations, and Realities. Because of this, much of our knowledge about medieval beds comes from descriptions in wills as well as manuscript illustrations. As with many things, the way a person's bed might be arranged would be dependent upon their income and status. However, not just aristocrats would have had access to what we might describe as a good or a comfortable bed. In a 1426 inventory of John Cotton, there are a few belongings itemized, one of them being a bed cover, which was valued at 1 shilling and 4 pennies. The archaeologist Roberta Gilchrist expresses, middle-ranking people owned wooden bedsteads with simple headboards, to which were added feather mattresses, sheets, blankets, bolsters, coverlets, and pillows. Peasants had mattresses stuffed with straw, wool, hair, rags, and feathers, which could be rolled up and tidied away during the day, while the poorest people slept on straw or hay. I would imagine that people who didn't have much money would have used whatever material was accessible to them to create a mattress. It appears, however, that straw was the most common stuffing for medieval mattresses or beds. Medieval beds for the aristocracy and bourgeoisie typically involved various layers, which could be quite minimalist or quite maximalist, as not all individuals would sleep on every layer. In Beds and Chambers in Late Medieval England, Readings, Representations, and Realities, Morgan describes how these arrangements might look. For the most minimalist arrangement for a late medieval English aristocratic bed, you would likely have the bedstead, a layer of straw, canvas laid over top, the mattress or feather bed, the oversheet and nether sheet, a couple blankets, and a bolster. For a maximalist bed, the layers are a lot more complicated. You have the bedstead, straw, canvas, mattress, feather bed, some layers of fustian or blanket, an oversheet, another sheet, coverlet, bolster, head sheet, pillows, and there might be curtains and cords and rails to create not only a physically comfortable bed, but also a visually appealing one. The minimalist setup is the one that would be the most common in aristocratic households, however. Some of the layers I described may seem confusing as I didn't go into much detail about them, so I will in just a moment. But first, I'd like to thank the sponsor of this video, which is June's Journey. It's a lot of work filming these week-long experiments, especially since I'm doing all of this production myself, so sponsors like June's Journey make videos like this one possible. I've been playing June's Journey for a few years now, and it's a really fun hidden object mystery game, and it has a captivating detective storyline that takes place in the 1920s. All of the beautifully illustrated hidden object scenes have stunning vintage decorations and elements. As the game progresses, it takes you through a thrilling mystery story where the main protagonist, June Parker, is on a quest to solve the murder of her sister, and along the way she ends up uncovering a bunch of family secrets. Truly, every time I think I know which direction the story is progressing in, I get thrown another curveball. The storyline explores themes such as love, betrayal, injustice, motherhood, and many others. And you also get to decorate your own island, join a club to play with your friends or other like-minded people, and even participate in special events to get in-game rewards. Download June's Journey for free by clicking the link or scanning the QR code here on the screen. June's Journey is available on iOS and Android mobile devices, as well as on PC. Thanks again to June's Journey for sponsoring this video, and now let's jump back into learning about medieval beds. So canvas would be the lowest layer of reusable bedding, as straw would get regularly changed. It makes sense as the canvas could protect against the roughness of any straw. Then there's the mattress and feather bed layers. These layers are separate from the straw and canvas layers, and Morgan deduces that mattresses were more commonly stuffed. It's not completely clear on with what materials, but I think with more straw or whatever materials were available. In later periods, this type of canvas sack being filled with stuffing materials is called a tick mattress, bed tick, or simply tick. Feather beds were usually an addition to the mattress and would be stuffed with feathers, as the name implies. These are essentially like an optional version of a modern-day mattress topper, not essential for sleeping, but could be a nice addition. For the sheet layer, it would be similar to how sheets are used today. Fustian and blankets are often used interchangeably during this time, but fustian was essentially the fancier option of the two. The closest modern alternative to fustian we have is actually a material called moleskin, and I'm foreshadowing a little bit, but you'll see why I mentioned this later on. For those who wanted to be very fancy, they might have a coverlet, which is the final bedspread top layer, and it would be decorative and often heavily embroidered. Finally, I know I've thrown a bunch of information at you, but let's talk really quick about pillows. So a lot of people seem to believe that medieval people slept sitting up, but this does not have evidence backing it from any sources. There would instead usually be a pillow or bolster. Pillows would typically be wrapped in a sort of pillowcase known as a head sheet, or sometimes also called a pillow bear. Well, now that you know what sort of elements go into a medieval bed arrangement, let's see what I'm going to do for my own week-long setup.
It is night 1, and I am so ready for bed. For the first night, I decided to do a sort of if medieval people were to camp or hike setup. Now, from what I was reading, medieval people generally didn't camp or hike recreationally, and if they had to walk for longer distances, there would often be places that they could stay along the way. So they generally avoided sleeping outside if they could. But I feel like whenever we talk about people historically, we can't speak for every single person, and so perhaps there was someone out there during the medieval period that really liked camping and hiking. And so I figured that if they did for whatever reason, or if someone needed a travel bed, this would be the setup. So the base layer is a rush mat, and there is evidence of this existing in paintings. And then on top of that, I took a sheet of wool fleece and laid it over to kind of be like an extra layer of padding. And then just so I didn't get fleece particles all over me, I just laid a linen sheet on top of that. And for warmth, I'm covering myself up with 2 wool blankets, and I'm also wearing wool stockings. And this linen smock that my friend Devin kindly made me for my birthday. Thanks, Devin. This is definitely giving me vibes of when I lived in my car. That's very much what this feels like. I had a pretty similar sleeping setup in that situation. Alright, well, I'm gonna try and get some rest. I'll let you all know how it goes. But first, I'm gonna do a little bit of knitting in the round, and guess what? There is evidence that knitting in the round happened in medieval times. Isn't that so cool? Except they would knit in the round on double-pointed needles, which I still don't know how to do, so the circular needles will have to suffice. Good night, everyone, and see you in the morning. Hopefully. Good morning, everyone. I just woke up. I didn't sleep very well. I think I woke up about 2 or 3 times in the night, and I got quite cold. It is still winter. I am sleeping in my work studio for this week, which feels pretty bizarre. I don't normally sleep in my work studio, but I keep it fairly cool in here, and I don't have a nice little medieval fire to keep me toasty and warm. So I'm going to need to figure out what to do because 2 wool blankets does not seem to be enough. The experience overall was very much reminding me of when you're a child sleeping over at your friend's house and you have to sleep on their floor. Or, you know, camping and having like a very thin mat. I think with maybe 2 or 3 more layers of fleece it would become more comfortable. So I feel very ready to get going with the next layers of this mattress situation because, yeah, I would prefer not to have another night like this if possible. It wasn't unbearable or anything, it's just definitely taking a little bit of a toll on my body. I'll check in with you all a little bit later.
Since at the simplest level, most likely everybody could have slept on hay, we're gonna be doing that tonight. I'm literally just going to stuff this canvas sack that I made with a bunch of hay. 15 kilos worth of hay, in fact. This guy right here wrapped in some very medieval, very historically accurate plastic. And I'm gonna see if it's comfortable. So yeah, I'm gonna just try and do my best to pack it into the canvas bag. Here's the canvas sack that I made, and I didn't quite have enough fabric to make it the full size of my body, but it's enough, and I'm a side sleeper a lot of the time, so I can curl up just fine. And this was so simple. I just folded over the fabric, backstitched the sides, And now I'm going to stuff it, and then I will whip stitch the opening. That way none of the hay will come flying out when I sit down on it. I have an air filter running, and I'm about to put on a mask because it's gonna get very dusty in here since we're indoors. This hay is literally meant for horses, but in our case, hay is not only for horses. I'm wondering if I should just make the opening large enough for the hay bale to fit through it. It's amazing how used to unpicking your own hand stitching you get when you hand stitch everything for so many years. I think it's nearly 5 years now that I started sewing. I hadn't realized how messy this would be. Here it is, big old hay bale. I'm absolutely covered in hay. I'm gonna stitch up the top with whip stitches. I'm done now stitching the edge. And now I have to clean up all of this hay. All right, here is my bale. That was fun. So, I need to make this much flatter. Because right now it's like a cat bed. See if I can gnaw it like a cat. I think this might be the weirdest thing I've done on this channel, I don't know. I feel like hay is like glitter. I'm going to be finding it probably everywhere for the next year of my life. I'm here and I curl up like this. I think that'll be just fine. I'm ready for bed, night 2. I'm on my hay mattress and it's pretty comfortable actually, so I think I'll get a better night's sleep than I did last night. On top of the hay mattress, I just put down the linen sheet in order to make it so that I wouldn't get dust particles from the hay in my nostrils and into my lungs, just for kind of like a safety precaution. And I think I'll be a little bit warmer tonight as I'm also wearing a woven wool shawl on top of that, and then the 2 wool blankets from yesterday, and then also a woolen cloak. I'm exhausted. I will see you all in the morning. It's the morning. I cannot get over the hay smell. It's actually pretty nice, and then it gets to a point where it's kind of annoying. I was way more comfortable last night than the night before that. I was also perfectly warm, so it seems like this amount of layers is great, and I've cracked that, so that's good. But there are a few things I would like to do to make this sleeping arrangement more comfortable. And we're going to try out some other medieval layers throughout this week, but one of the upgrades that I really want to make in the next couple of days is to have a little bit of an extension to my mattress, so that way I don't have to curl up my legs. I can do it, it's not like horribly uncomfortable or something, but it would be nice to stretch out and also be able to maybe sleep on my back if possible. So since I really don't want to undo this whole mattress that I made because it's working and it seems to be comfortable, I decided I could get inspired a little bit by modular furniture. I'm going to sew a little piece separately that I can then just lay against this one, and then maybe even stitch the 2 together with a few whip stitches so that way they don't come apart in the night. Because of that, I went ahead and just ordered another 5 kilograms of hay. This time it's guinea pig hay rather than horse hay, but that works. And that's going to arrive in a couple of days, so then we'll be able to add on that little extension. And then aside from that, I would also really like a pillow, and I realized that the pillows that are my usual bed, they are just cotton stuffed with 100% wool, and that's it, nothing else. Same with my duvet actually, it's just cotton stuffed with wool. Could I have used my duvet this entire week? Okay, well I guess that this is more realistic. Cotton was actually a pretty expensive material during medieval times, and so it likely would have more so been linen. But I think just the fact that I have the pillow stuffed with wool, which is very much what they would have been stuffed with potentially, I feel like I should just wrap it in a sheet of linen and then use that as a pillow. I'm gonna go and do some things today, and I will see you all in the evening. Well, it's night 3, and tonight we have a little bit of an upgrade. This trusty wool pillow, and I wrapped it in a linen flat sheet, and I think normally they would have used unbleached linen or even white linen sheets, but I had no other white linen sheets, so I used this beautiful red one instead. I'll see you all in the morning for probably a much better night of sleep than the last couple of nights. Good morning.
I just woke up. There's kind of a lump forming on the mattress where one side of it is sort of teetering downwards more than the other side. So I need to do some jumping today and get it to even out a little bit more because it is a little bit annoying. And I was so much more comfortable tonight because of the pillow, so that was a major upgrade. I'm really glad I did that. I'm gonna get going with my day, and I will see you all tonight for night 4. It is night 4, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm really starting to feel the exhaustion setting in. I'm realizing I'm waking up in the night way more times than I normally do, and because of that, it's affecting my awakeness during the day as well, and so I get really, really tired and really exhausted. I think the best comparison I can make is to the feeling of when you're traveling a lot and you're just very go, 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 and you're sleeping in beds that are unfamiliar every night. It's kind of like that sort of feeling, even though this is technically my bed and I made it. I think that it's only going to go uphill from here though, especially tomorrow when the extra hay arrives, because then I can extend the bed a bit and like, this is totally not okay. Actually, I shouldn't say this is not something that medieval people would have experienced, because maybe, especially for really poor medieval people, they probably had very difficult sleeping circumstances and mattress situations going on. But it's good that I'm getting the experience in many different ways, because then I can kind of get a glimpse into those different perspectives. But now I'm going to try and have things be more and more comfortable, so that way I can get through the 7 days. And hopefully by the end of the week, I will have a solution that will be just like a normal bed. It's my bedtime, for sure. Hopefully I don't wake up like 4 times in the night tonight. I will check in with you all tomorrow in the morning and see how it went. Good morning. I slept really poorly last night. It didn't have to do with the mattress. It had to do with the fact that at some point in the night, I started having severe pain in my body. And then I couldn't sleep, and so I had to get up and just try and relieve the pain. And so by the time I actually got to bed, it was like 5 a.m. because, yeah, I just was up trying to deal with this. Finally it went away though, thankfully. Definitely ready for little upgrades though to make this even better. In some not so nice for me news, the hay was delayed, the shipment. I even tried to find hay at a store and the store was closed. So yeah, hopefully it will arrive tomorrow or I will get it from somewhere, because it'd be nice to have this extension. Otherwise I might have to get creative and start filling it with like scrap fabric or something. Hoping day 6 will be a little bit more energetic. I have survived another night, thankfully. And I have noticed that my body is really getting used to the mattress now. It doesn't feel like my bed still, but it doesn't feel unfamiliar either. I think I am ready though for my actual bed. The other day I saw it and I immediately developed such a deep sense of longing for my bed. Which sounds funny, but I guess this really puts into perspective how fortunate we are to have really nice, comfortable mattresses and all the different creature comforts that a lot of us are blessed with in the modern world. And at the same time, this isn't as uncomfortable as I expected, which tells me that medieval people, at least those who could afford it, probably had fairly comfortable bed scenarios, more comfortable than I think I used to believe medieval people had. As a kid, I used to think that medieval people just all slept on bales of hay, and that was it. I will speak to you all in a little bit. Some good news! The additional hay has arrived, which means that we can finally finish the bed. Woohoo! Let's go do it.
Wow, this is so comfortable. I could definitely sleep on this for years. This is extremely comfortable. I honestly can't wait to sleep on this tonight. I feel like I have suffered enough for this video, and now it's time to really be comfortable medieval style. It's night 6. Tonight I can stretch out all the way. It's really nice actually, and I'm really warm. I even put on this little cap to help keep my head warm in the night. Yeah, this feels good. I feel like we have gotten somewhere with this. I can 100% see how this was kind of the average medieval setup for aristocracy because, yeah, this is pretty comfortable, even minus the bedstead. I guess the floor is the replacement for the bedstead. I'm really looking forward to probably getting a very good night's sleep tonight, and I'm impressed. I'm impressed by just how nice this actually is. Good night, everyone. See you tomorrow for the final day. I just had the best sleep of the week. The fustian was surprisingly warm, or in this case moleskin, and it just provided the extra little bit of warmth that I needed, and it was just perfect paired up with a couple of wool blankets. The mattress is super, super comfortable. It's like a very firm modern mattress, but it provides a lot of support, surprisingly, and at the same time, the extra little bit of fleece makes it kind of softer. I cannot believe I was sleeping like a cat on that other mattress setup for so long, but yeah, anyways, we got there in the end, and we get to end this week, because there's still one more day left, but we get to mostly end this week with a very nice setup, and I've definitely made it work. So yeah, this is a big turnaround. You can probably tell by my energy levels as well. I just got such a good night's sleep, and I didn't even wake up once, I think, through the night. At least if I did, I don't remember it. Versus the other nights, I would normally wake up at least a few times, which definitely really impacts your quality of sleep. I will see you all a little bit later. It is night 7. I'm really impressed by this week and by this experience. I feel like I've gotten a very deep glimpse into what sleeping would have maybe actually been like for medieval people, and that to me feels very special because I feel like that's a glimpse that you don't really get unless you're doing this type of experimental archaeology where you're actually making the things and trying to recreate the conditions as best as you can. To me, it just brings me a lot of security and feels really empowering to know how to make the things that I consume every day. That's why I got into growing food and making my own clothing and things like that, because I really wanted to know where the things that I use every day come from and how they're constructed. And now I know how my bed is constructed, and that is so weird. I feel like most people do not make their own mattress that they sleep on. It's like another level of DIY. I think I'm actually gonna leave you all here. I don't think I need to check in tomorrow morning because we already know how it's going. It's going actually really well. Not every one of these experiments is successful. And so when you have such a big success like this, it feels incredible because so much of this is about trying things and them not working out. Obviously, it's a bit of a subjective experience because I have my own levels of comfort that might be different for other people, but for me, this really seems to work. Yes, I do long to be back in my usual bed, but this is a perfectly wonderful alternative. Maybe I'll have some like medieval sleepovers or something with my friends. I think that could be really, really cool. We can all make our little medieval mattresses. Thank you so much for being a part of this journey. And thank you so much to June's Journey for sponsoring this video and making it possible. You can download June's Journey for free by clicking the link in the description box or scanning the QR code here on screen. I really appreciate you all being here and also being so curious about these things, because that's literally why I can make these videos, is because you all seem to also be curious about what's going on. I'll see you all in the next video. Good night.